Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar, Stayntouch Product Enhancements, version 5.92. Elevate your management, multi-property reporting, billing addresses on guest cards, and more, presented by Stayntouch implementation consultant, Natasha Leck. I'm your host, Erin Fisher, the content writer here at Stayntouch. Today's presentation will cover how you can get the most out of the Stayntouch PMS version 5.92 product release. In this webinar, we will cover the following enhancements: create new party from stay card, party shown in the arrival, departure, and in-house guest reports, promotions and newsletter opt-in for check-in, billing address added to guest card, new scheduled rate audit report, allow allotment date change if no rooms are picked up, allotment end date extension, restrict group start date change if current date is in the past, or if it's the current date or in the past, excuse me. CSV export button added to the AR statement and include reference number or number of nights. In Pilot, we also have two-factor and multi-factor authentication. Additionally, we'll cover allowance consumption and specifically group shares with routing, connect API enhancements, hot sauce via control. The arrival time has been added. And then finally, we will cover multi-property enhancements, including promotions configuration and reporting. We'll have a short Q&A at the end of the presentation, and feel free to submit questions throughout the presentation. We'll answer them in the order they're received at the end. And that's all I have right now. Natasha, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you for that introduction, Erin. All right, let's dive right into it. We have a lot to cover today. The first topic of the release notes 5.92 is in regards to party reservations. Now, when we have a reservation, and I've created an arrival for today as an example, that is not part of a party, we can see that over here, it's just by itself, and we want to add it or link it to a new party, I should say. Over here on the right-hand side, we have that option for my bar for my bar for today's webinar is in the way. Let me just try that again. There we go. Over here, we can see that icon that we know for our groups as well as for allotments. I'm going to make that bigger now that I have it. And this is also for parties. And on the right-hand side, we can see the create party option. And when I click on that, the party automatically gets created, and we can see a couple of things happen here. We can see the name, which will take the last name of the guest plus the word party. It'll put the contact details in there, and it'll take that from that primary guest that we have on this reservation. So we can see my details on here. If there are no details, such as phone number, as we can see here, it'll be left as blank. The start and the end date of the party will be the arrival and the departure date on this reservation. And the party code automatically gets created, and we can see that over here. Now, when I close this, we can see that it says associated with the LEC party. The second release that is also part of parties, I would say, we can see in reports. So from the menu under reports and new report, we can now see in the arrival reports as well as on the departure and in-house report. I'm just going to use the arrival report as example. On those reports, we can now see the parties as well. So when I look at my arrival report over here, I can see that this reservation is part of the LEC party, and it also has that party icon displayed right next to it, telling you that this is a party, if you wouldn't be using the word party at the end of that. And we can see that for different reservations over here. All right. When we go to check in a guest, we already had the option to hyperlink the terms and conditions to click on to display the terms and conditions for the customer to agree with when booking. Now we also have that similar option for promo and newsletter opt-in. So we can see that this is now set up as a hyperlink, same as those terms and conditions. And when I click on it, we can see that information and I can agree with that, and then I can continue. Now, this newsletter option, we do need to have activated. So for this to be hyperlinked, we're going to go into our settings. And under hotel and staff and then stationery, you are going to find that promotions and newsletter opt-in. And here we can create, like we do for our terms and conditions, you can create a special box, and we can then make sure that we assign it to the registration card print. If we don't assign it here, that option will not get that hyperlink. All right, and that is then for the customer, of course, to agree with. Well, we are already in our settings. The next subject is going to be about guest cards now having the option for a billing address. In order to be able to see that on the guest card, we do have to be in our settings, and under cards, we can find the guest card fields. And under guest card fields, I always use Ctrl F to find things in this list. We can find here everything in regards to billing, and we want to make sure that those are activated. Otherwise, this functionality doesn't work. So we want to activate the billing email, billing address, billing city, postal code, state, country. All of those can be activated. They don't have to be mandatory. That's that second toggle over here. They can just be active, and we can save those. Now, once those are toggled on the guest card, and I will move into a reservation to show you, we can then find, let me open up my guest card. We can then find the option for billing address. Now this will be toggled off. If I toggle this on, you will be able to put in an email address. This is not mandatory. We can fill in the address and postal code, country, city. Those are the ones that I have activated. If you have the new postal code functionality activated, where the system automatically populates that city and state for you, that also works for the billing address. Now, once we have this in here, the system will then use this for all invoice templates. And when deselected, it will use the normal guest card. So right now I have this selected, use different address for billing, and I have my test address on here. So when I now go to my invoices under bill and charges, and I click on invoice, I am just going to use this first option that I have. Let me print that so that we can have a look at that. We can see on here that it now uses that second billing address that I have set up. What we can also see when I click on the button for invoice is it uses that secondary email address to email. So once that is on there, this is what the system will use, but that is only for invoicing. So, or billing, I should say. Emails that get sent for check-in or for the confirmation email, those will still all use the primary email address. And if there's no email address filled in, it'll still use the guest card. Now, any updates on guest mobility or the kiosk, those will update the billing email address. So keep that in mind. All right, on to the next subject. Under our reports, we're going to go to the menu, reports, and then we're going to go to schedule a report or export. We can find a new report, and we're going to have to go to scheduled exports and new export schedule. Here we can find the rate audit report. Now we are familiar with this functionality. We know that we're going to have a few parameters that we can select. For the rate audit report, we can select a certain time period, which is going to be today. Then we can decide whether we want to see certain add-ons, yes or no. If we want to see all, we can select a certain rate type. If we want to see all or a specific one, depends on what it is that you are looking for. And then under option, you can decide to show rate sets or show add-on details. It is either or, it is not both. And these are the custom group rates. So when you have selected what you want to see, you can then export this. Your repeat types are going to be weekly, monthly, run once, or run during end of day. Make sure that when you've selected one of the options, you always put a 1 in that repeat. You can select the time. And then for your delivery method, type in an email, or if you select email address, make sure that when you put in an email address that you press enter, otherwise your email address does not get added. Or if you already have a Google Drive or Dropbox associated with your property, you would be able to select that here. The same for SFTP. Now, when we have that schedule, and I have one set up already, we are able to find that in here. And you would also be able to click on Run Now if you want to see that straight away. Now, I have an example already. So this was emailed to me today. The first option that I have here shows everything in regards to rates. The second one I have is that second option for add-ons, as those are not able to be selected at the same time. We can see the rate name, starting and end date, and then we have the different sets. We have the room type. Let me just scroll a little bit so we can see more of the options. So these are all of the fields that we're able to see in that rate audit report. Now, if I pull up the rate audit report where it has add-ons selected, you can see it looks a little bit different. So we can see the rate name, and then it's going to have those add-on names here associated. And then it will also mention whether those are inclusive or exclusive, whether they're bundled, and what the price is of the add-on. So it depends a little bit on what you're looking for or what the reason is as to why you're running the report. All right. So we're going to move on to allotments next. I'm going to go into the menu under groups, and I already have an allotment that I want to use for that example. So with the release notes, it's mentioned that if an allotment does not have any rooms that are part of the block, that are picked up or that are canceled, the start and end date can be adjusted, as long as the date is, of course, not in the past. So we can see for this allotment here that this date is blocked as it is in the past, but we can see that there are no rooms and rates associated yet. So I do have the option to adjust that end date right over here. If I look at, let's see, do I have one that's not in the past? I don't have one of those, but the idea is that we can see here that I can adjust that end date over here. Now, this does not affect reservation dates. If you extend it from here, you can then manually adjust or add any additional room blocks manually for that period that you extend the room block for. That would also be if you already have, when you've extended this over here. So I combined that 6 and 7 straight away into one explanation. We are then going to have a look at groups. So these were for allotments for the extension dates. And now we're going to have a look at group and extending dates. So under groups, I'm going to go to manage groups, and I have a group right over here. Now we can see that my from date is blocked. Yeah, this is not something that I can adjust anymore. And this can happen when there is a financial transaction posted onto the group for a start date that is going to be today. That means that from that moment, the day will be grayed out. So under transactions, we can see that a cash payment has been posted here. And from that moment onwards, that date gets blocked. This will also happen if the start date is in the past. And we can see that being done on the summary tab, like I am on now. And under the room block details, we can also see that the start date has been grayed out over here. All right, we're moving on to a new feature in AR. So from our menu under financials, I'm going to go into my accounts receivable, and I'm going to select one of my, well, let's use booking.com one as an example, and we go straight into the AR transactions tab. Now, when I click on the statement here on the right-hand side, I now have the option to download my statement as a CSV. That can be on summary as well as detailed for the layout, and this can include payments as well. This is completely up to you, depending on what it is that you're looking for. And when I download that CSV, we can then see the details on the report. And let me just open that up so that we can have a look. So we can see the AR statement here. I can see my property, and then here I can see the details about this specific AR account. I can see the reservations on there. I can see the reservation number, the room number, and then if I just scroll a little bit to the right, we can see all the different charges that are going to be on there. So instead of emailing this, we just have the CSV version basically. And we can see the total amounts over here as well. Then the next functionality that I want to talk about is a feature that is in pilot. And this is the option for multi-factor authentication. Now I'm just going to log out so that I can show you. Again, as I said, because this is a feature that is in pilot, it is something that has to be enabled by a Stayntouch admin. So if this is something that you're interested in, please reach out to our support team. Let's see, I do have one. Basically what this will look like is when you filled in your email address. Oh, I don't know if it's going to do it because I just did it right before our call. When you filled in your password and you click on sign in, it's not going to show it because I just tested. We're going to have that option for the multi-factor authentication. Basically, we can use I'm using Google at the moment to be able to fill in that extra code to make sure that it is me that is logging in. And any more information on that functionality can be found on the release notes as well, that you've already seen before. Let me just go back to the property. We're going to go back into groups because groups now work with allowances and routing. And I have a nice example set up to show you. So under groups, just going to pull up the group that we already have. There's, of course, a couple of things that I need to do in order to be able to show that. So under rate info, I have added a allowance add-on. As we can see here, I have my allowance add-on for my dinner package. And this is showing for all my reservations. And for that allowance to show, I have already checked in my reservation, and my reservation has used up 60 euros of the allowance that they have. So when I go to the stay card, because that reservation is checked in under bill and charges, I can click on allowances and I can see that the total amount was 60, but 50 euros has been posted to the specific reservation because the rest of that $10 will get routed. I have set up routing for that. So if I go to my group under summary, I can see for my billing info that I'm routing everything for the specific group, which means that if I now go to the transactions tab, I can see that that additional 10 euros that was the overage, we can see right over here for restaurant food. All right. Now, I'm just going to pull up the release notes. We can see some additional information in regards to integrations. We can see the Connect API enhancement access code added to parameters to get accounts API. And we can see wake up call for that Connect API enhancement as well. And we can see as an update for the integrations that hot sauce by control now has the option to include arrival time. This is also available for other control integrations. Then there, last but not least, are two things for multi-property functionality that I want to go over. The first one is in terms of multi-property configuration. Let me just pull up the property. So at the top of our multi-property dashboard, we also have the option for configuration. And under configuration, we're going to go to rates, and here we can find promotions. Promotions work the same way as they work in each individual property. They only work within the PMS. They don't work with a CRS. They do work with the Stayntouch IBE. For the promotion template that we make, it is very easy. I'm going to click on create template. We can put a April promotion in here. That name is also what is used as the code. So I'm just going to put it like this, April promotion. The from date and end date. And then we can put the amount in, and this can be a specific amount, so $20, for example, but this could also be a percentage. And I can decide, okay, is this an amount that properties can adjust themselves or not? And then I can create the template. When I create a template, I get a pop-up that will ask me, hey, or that'll tell me what is going to happen next. So if it already exists, then we leave it. If it doesn't exist yet, we are going to create it, and then we'll activate it for all. And then properties won't be able to deactivate this. So I'm going to activate template. We can see this sync over here. I'm going to give that a moment, and then I will show you that it's going to be in my property now. So when I go to my property, I'm going to go into my settings, and we can find under rates, basically in the same spot as that we can see for that configuration and promotions. We can then see that April promo for the 20%. And when I click on this, I will be able to assign the rate that I want this to be, and we can see the amount displayed here. All right, and then the second and even more exciting part for the multi-property is going to be a feature that is in pilot. So keep that in mind. When I go back into my chain dashboards, we have some options that you're already familiar with. So dashboard, search for reservations, the configuration screen. We now also have the option for reports. We can see multiple reports in here. I'm not going to go over all of them. All of it is already explained in detail in the release notes. Let me just pull that up. So in this article, you'll be able to see really each specific line item and what they do. I just want to show the new exciting functionality. I want to show you that we have a few reports that are going to be on here. And when I click on this, we can basically decide for ourselves how we want the report to look. So I can search for a specific property group. I can search for a specific currency if I have properties that are multiple currencies like I have. Or I can select all my properties or specific properties to be able to have a look at. And if I put that in, we can then see the report here. So we can see the currency, total rooms, availability, right? The business on the books information that we know. And I'm able to click on that. We can open it up and we are able to see that information in here. Right over there is the property that we have the data in. This is for the business on the books report as an example, but this works as well for the check-in and check-out report. I don't have any check-ins in my sample property, but what we can see when I select all my properties is that we're going to have that option to be able to see the different kind of check-ins. So PMS, web, kiosk, mobility, the total amount of check-ins, the total amount of checkouts, and the different ways that people can check out. And we have that list over here. Basically, the idea behind it is that you can select certain values here at the top, and that this report is changes as you are making adjustments. So if there is one that I don't see, you straight away see that the report starts loading to include or exclude whatever you have set. We also have forecast report. Again, when I select my certain properties, and I'm just selecting all now so that we have a few to look at, we can see that arrival, departure, and occupancy information like we are used to from the forecast report, and we can also see that broken down. This is a functionality that does have to be activated. I do recommend contacting our sales department, whether we can activate that for you or looking into pricing so that we can have that function available for you. All right, those are all the items that I wanted to discuss today.
All right, thank you so much, Natasha. So now I'll leave the floor open for questions. Remember, you can submit questions through the question box in the middle of the control panel. So it looks like our first question is from Cassie. With the party functionality, is there a setting to automatically create a party for multi-room OTA reservations? Not yet, but the party functionality is still in progress. So if you would like that implemented, you can submit a feature request if that's not already in process with our development team. And then Greg says he's having audio issues. I'm not having any audio issues, but if you are, it might be a computer issue. Not sure if anyone else is experiencing the same issues. I don't see any other questions right now, but I'll give everyone a few moments to enter any. All right, actually 1 second, another one just came in from Rebecca. With parties, can one party pay for all the reservations in that party? That is another functionality that's not supported yet, but that may be in the pipeline. Again, it is currently being developed and expanded upon. And then Sherry asks, is the party and group block the same thing? No, they're two different functionalities. Party is just a few reservations that are associated with each other. They don't have different rates, whereas the group block may have a different rate. All right. I'm not seeing any other questions. I'll give everyone a few more moments. All right, let me switch back to my screen.
Thank you, Erin.
Yeah, thank you. And 1 second. Okay, so in today's webinar, we covered how to create a new party from the stay card, the party shown in the arrival, departure, and in-house guest reports, the promotions and newsletter opt-in for check-in, billing address added to the guest card, the new scheduled rate audit report, the option to allow allotment date change if no rooms are picked up, allotment end date extension, restrict group start date change if it is the current date or in the past, the option to click a CSV export button from the AR statement and include the reference number and number of nights, the two-factor and multi-factor authentication, which is in pilot, allowance consumption, group shares with routing, connect API enhancements, arrival time added for hot sauce via control, and then our multi-property enhancements, which include promotions configuration and reporting. With that, I'd like to conclude our presentation. Thank you all for coming, and if you have any additional questions, feel free to email me at erin.fisher@stayntouch.com. Thanks again.